Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Justin Trevino. How's it going today?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
Doing really well. This Texas weather is cooling off, and I'm loving it.
It is cooling off a little bit. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
I went outside this morning, and it was like 70 to some odd degrees, and I was like, Texas stayed like this all year round, I'd be so happy.
Absolutely.
So how's everything going with you? You're out in actual Central Texas. Waco could say we're Central Texas, but you're out in actual Central
We
Texas.
are we are in the what is considered the geographical center of Texas, Brady, Texas. Right north of town, they have a marker that's actually supposedly well, I don't mean to say supposedly, it is
Yeah.
the geographical center of the state. But ironically, most people think of this as kind of part of like the beginning of West Texas, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's right dead center.
Yeah. It's it's so funny because anybody here in Waco, they call themselves Central Texas, and you like look at a map and it's like it's not anywhere near the center of
Right,
Texas. So
right.
how does this get yeah, so
Yeah, I don't know.
it's like the heart of Texas, I get it. That makes sense, but Central
Right.
Texas, no.
So where do
So
they consider to be the start of North Texas?
I don't know.
You know,
Waxahachie, maybe?
yeah, maybe so. Just a little north of you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. But excited to have you here. You're from Brownsville. Wait, if there's ever to call South Texas, that would be probably about as South Texas as you can get.
That's as far south as you can go. Yes, sir. The southern tip of Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yep. What was it like growing up in Brownsville?
Well, I was only there till I was 4 years old.
Okay.
And now, that said, I mean, I can tell you a lot about it because I still have family there, still have aunts and uncles and cousins, and so I've been back and forth all my life. But I was raised primarily around Austin and Lockhart, Texas.
Okay.
But Brownsville, of course, the Mexican culture in Brownsville is real thick, and the music scene down there. When I had started my band when I was a teenager, and when I would go down there to visit, we were always trying to find live music. And I would ask some of the bands and the band leaders about, what's it like down here, and they said, "Man, it's all right, but if you don't do what they call half and half, meaning half English, half Spanish, you don't work." Well, my Spanish is really poor, so so that probably would not have been an option for me. But but I tell you what has happened in recent years is the winter Texans that come
Yeah.
down in winter in the Rio Grande Valley. Uh, they hire a lot of country music during the winter season, and so actually we do get to go down there and play every now and then, thanks to them.
So basically, you get a free trip back home.
Yes, that's exactly right. As a matter of fact, the lady that hires me, a dear friend of mine named Sharon Keniston, um, that's basically what I tell her. Like, hey, just cover my expenses so I can come visit my family, and I'll go down there and play for a week.
Nice. That's awesome. That's really
Yes,
cool.
yes.
Oh, and so that's kind of how you just broke into the scene? Was you and your friends going out and trying to find music, or is it
No,
there's
not so much. My dad was an avid country music fan and record collector, and he actually named me after Justin Tubb, who was his favorite songwriter. Justin was the firstborn son of the legendary Ernest Tubb, and Justin was also a great singer songwriter, a great artist in his own right. Um, my dad named me after him, and from the time I was very young, Dad exposed me to traditional country music, bought me a toy guitar when I was like 3 years old, and I can remember sitting in front of the record player trying to play along. And I got my first real guitar when I was 7 years old, and I had told my parents that I wanted to play and sing. So I started learning to play at a very young age, and the singing just kind of came natural. Uh, those guitar instructors were teaching me chords, and it just made sense for me to sing in order to put those chords to use. And so I started doing that. Um, I was 12 years old when I took my first professional gig. I had a sit down gig in South Austin at a place called the Longhorn Barbecue and Bar, and I used to play there every Friday. And we did that for about a year, and then that gave way to another place in South Austin called Sam's Town Point, which is still there actually. And we continued that at Sam's when the Longhorn shut down. And when I was 14, I put my first band together, and I've carried my own band ever since.
Nice, nice. So you were bit by the bug young and just
Oh yeah,
kept going.
absolutely. I never rebelled. You know how a lot of children rebel against their parents' music. Not me. I embraced old school country
Yeah,
wholeheartedly, and there was never a moment when I ever even thought about walking away from it.
yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the interesting thing about music nowadays is because a lot of kids that are musicians now or just kind of like starting to find their sound,
Mm-hmm.
they grew up in households where like the dad listened to like rock and country music, but mom listened to like pop and
Right.
hip hop or something. And so you've got all these infusions of genres coming in, and
Yes.
it's kind of really interesting. So,
Yeah.
whereas back in the day, it was like if dad listened to country music, mom probably listened to country music, and you were a country household.
Well, in the case of my parents, it was because my dad basically told my mother, if you're going to be with me, this is what we're going to listen to. Now I know that's not every household, but
Yeah,
that's the way it was in ours.
fair.
And a funny thing now that of course my parents divorced when I was 16, and they both remarried, and my dad's passed away now.
Mm.
Uh, Mom is married to a guy that likes the oldies rock and roll stuff, and my mom, uh, she enjoys music, but she doesn't commit to any specific genre, and uh, and that's foreign to me because for me, I'm very committed to this particular kind of music that I love. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Completely understood. And so then you've been, or when, how long have you been in Brady now?
we moved to Brady. My wife and I moved to Brady in 2008, so a little over 16 years.
Nice. How's the scene kind of been in Brady?
Well, Brady's good. It's a small town, about 5,000 people, and we don't have a live music scene per se.
Yeah.
I moved here to open a recording studio with my friend Tracy Pitcox. I was already doing production for him from my home studio in Martindale, Texas, for about 10 years before I moved here. And so we moved to Brady, opened the studio, and we've made a lot of records. As far as live music, Tracy holds two festivals a year, one in March and one in August. And then we also always do something New Year's Eve. Outside of that, like I host a Monday night jam session
Hmm.
at a place here called the Blue Bonnet Ballroom
Okay.
inside the True Country Hotel, which is a big hotel on the square here in town.
Yeah.
And just some of us that are local musicians that enjoy playing together, we get together every Monday night and just pick for our enjoyment. But other than that, like they don't have regular dances or regular, live music in Brady all the time.
Yeah.
The town's really not big enough to sustain it, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you produce a lot of records,
Yes,
which you just dropped a new acoustic sessions album. Uh,
yes.
was it about a month ago at this point?
Yeah, it was July. I think it came out July 26th.
I said, yeah, I don't know why I try and do math on these things. I was never good at math and trying to add in dates to figure out how many days. It's like, nah, don't do it. You're setting yourself up. So, oh, it's called One Tier at a Time. What was kind of the thought process, or what's kind of the story behind the album?
Well, this is my 16th album, and the other 15 have been uh, pretty similar. Uh, this particular style of country music that I love, some people refer to it as the Ray Price sound,
Mhm.
which I don't have a problem with that, except to say that Ray was not the only one doing it.
Mhm.
Uh, there were guys like Farron Young and Johnny Bush and Mel Tillis and Daryl McCall, Curtis Potter, Tony Booth. a lot of guys embrace that particular sound. To me, it's more of a style of
Mm-hmm.
music, and I leaned on that heavily. And so my other albums had been largely that, and I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And so um, there's 20 songs on this acoustic album, and 16 of those are songs that I've always sang when I wasn't doing the dance hall thing. Like if somebody put a guitar in my hand and said, "Hey, sing one." These are songs that lend themselves to an acoustic treatment. You don't have to have the drive and rhythm section to pull them off. And so a lot of these are kind of bucket list songs for me that I've always wanted to record and just never had. Um, there are 4 new songs on the album, 3 that I wrote, and 1 that was written by Bill Anderson, Bobby Tomberlin, and Walt Aldridge. And so those are the 4 new songs. I mean, I can tell you the titles real quick. The title song, "One Tear at a Time,"
Mm-hmm.
was written by me and Guillen McCall. "Cheating Was Good While It Lasted" was written by me and my friend Aaron Caldwell. Oh goodness. "What If the Tables Were Turned" is a song that I wrote with Curtis Potter in mind. I was producing Curtis's records at the time, and he was going to record that song, and he passed away. Never was able to record it, and so those are the 3 that I wrote, and then the one that was written by Bill Anderson, Bobby Tomberlin, and Walt Aldridge. That song is called "Right About Now," and I love that song. As a matter of fact, I had been telling Tracy I was going to make this acoustic record, and it was just kind of a concept that I had. And then one day I emailed Bill Anderson and I said, "Bill, I'm thinking about doing an acoustic album. Do you have anything?" And he answered me pretty quick, and he said, "I think your fans would love an acoustic album." And he named a couple of his older songs, which I actually did record. "Think I'll Go Somewhere and Cry Myself to Sleep," and "I Don't Have Any Place to Go." And he named a couple of those. And he said, "I also have a new song that nobody's ever cut that I'm going to send you." And that was "Right About Now." Well, when I got that song, I fell in love with it. And I called Tracy and I said, "Well, this just got real because there's no way I'm going to pass on this song. So I need to cut it, and I need to get this done." And so that was kind of the nudge that I needed to get this record done.
Nice. So it was on the fence until that song came
You know, I
came to
knew I
you.
was going to do it, but I wasn't getting in any hurry.
Fair, very fair. Because it you like you said, it was kind of a different style, or not a like a different style other than that most people are familiar.
You know, it's a little bit of a departure, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still very country. It's still very Justin Trevino. It's just not dance hall necessarily.
Yeah, gotcha. That's what I was getting at. Sometimes I'm from Chicago, so my big fat Midwestern tongue gets in my way when I try and speak and all that stuff. It trips me up sometimes, but
Not at all.
no, that's all. So it's been out for a little over a month now. How's the reception been?
Seems to be doing real good. I haven't seen any negative response on it.
Mm,
Everybody's been real complimentary and supportive, and we've gotten some reviews back in the press already, and they've been good so far. So
nice.
I hope it's well received, especially because it is a little bit different for me.
Hmm. Now, are you gonna like do shows off this album? Like go out and like
Yes,
specifically do like acoustic stuff for a little
I,
bit?
I do intend to do some of that. I do. My fiddle player and my steel player, Grace Partridge is my fiddle player, and Jim Lossberg is my steel guitar player. They're on this album with me,
Nice.
which is perfect because we can go out and do shows together as a trio, and do some of this. You know,
Nice. So it makes it super easy to get out there and just kind of do it.
and actually have the musicians that played on the album.
Yeah.
Yes,
It makes the album an authentic representation of how you see it being performed live, which is
exactly.
always good.
Yes, sir.
So now with this album out, how often are you playing shows right now? Are you playing pretty consistently, or
You
is it
know,
kind of
we're staying pretty busy. We had a full August, and last part of July, right when the album came out, we made a run up through Indiana and Illinois and went up to Colborne, Ontario, Canada,
Oh well.
and played a big festival up there. And then we came back down, and I've had something every weekend for the month of August, and I've got, I think, every weekend in September except the last one. So and then the rest of the year is looking pretty good. So we're staying fairly busy.
Nice, nice. Getting out on the road, doing your thing.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. And getting outside of Texas. I love it. I love when Texas artists get outside of Texas and do more shows because I've seen a lot of Texas artists that kind of get stuck doing that
Mm-hmm.
Texas loop.
Well, it's easy to get stuck, and I enjoy going out of state.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, one the logistics and the money that I have to ask for to go that
Yeah,
far, a lot of times that's what gets in the way. But
yeah,
man, if the buyer is interested and we can work and we can agree on the terms, I really enjoy. I love going places I've never been.
yeah.
This music has taken me all over the United States and to a handful of foreign countries that I never would have gotten to visit on my own.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about music and being a creative in general is it opens up so many doors for you to
Mm-hmm.
travel.
Yes.
That's cool. Um, so outside of music, when you do get 5 minutes to yourself, what do you like to do outside of music? What are some hobbies and whatnot?
you know, this sounds terrible, but I'm so eat up with music, I don't really have a lot of other hobbies. Uh, if I'm not performing, I'm probably either posting about it or listening to it or trying to spread the word about other people that I like to get behind
Mm-hmm.
and I don't do a lot of other stuff. Way back in my younger days, I used to do a little bit of fishing and grew up out in the country where we had a horse and I used to ride a little bit, but shoot, I don't think I'd trust myself to get up on a horse now because if I took a fall, I wouldn't recover near as well as I could back then.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm ashamed to say that I don't have a lot of other hobbies.
So who have you been listening to recently that
Who
you're
who do
really
who do I listen to and
yeah,
and
like who have you been listening to recently?
and fly the flag for? Yes. Well, my mentor, and I will always try to preserve his legacy, is a gentleman by the name of Johnny Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that is always a part of my life and what I do. But as far as people who are current, my friend Jake Hooker, Amber Digby, I'm a big Rhonda Vincent fan. Uh, the Malpas Brothers. There's some good country music being
Yeah.
made these days. And my buddy Rocky King has a really good band. Goodness, I hate doing this because I'm going to leave out people and I don't want to hurt
Yeah.
anybody's
No,
feelings. But
it's 100% understood.
yeah,
I just kind of ask because for a kind of selfish reason. So I have, if there's an artist I've never heard of, it's like,
sure,
okay, new people to go check out because
yes,
like
that
you,
that yeah,
when I'm at my day job, I've got Spotify on and it's just 8 hours of release radar or whatever just randomly pops up. And yeah,
right, yes,
so,
sir. I'll give you a few more. Some of the old guard that were heroes of mine that are still active. Tony
mhm.
Booth, Daryl McCall, those two guys are still out there playing dances and
Yep.
drawing good crowds and still
Yep.
recording. So there's a couple of more right there. And I know if I sat here for a minute, I'd probably think up some more. But
Oh yeah.
those were the first ones that popped into my mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and then you said the plan is to kind of do some more acoustic shows as like shows
As
stuff becomes available.
yes, acoustic shows, and of course, as well as continuing to do the full band shows also.
Hmm. And then you're doing the Monday jam but that's not really a show. That's just kind of
It's
friends coming
it's
together.
very informal, man. We welcome people to come check it out. It's open to the public, but I've structured it. We sit around in a circle and we swap songs, and you never know what anybody's going to sing or what's going to happen. I don't really want it to be a structured show. We
Hmm.
just go out there on Monday nights and have fun, but we certainly invite anybody and everybody to come hang out with us.
Awesome. I will have to keep that in
Yeah,
the back of my
yeah, come
pocket.
see us.
because I go down to New Braunfels
Well,
quite a bit. So
and I would be remiss if I didn't mention, talking about artists that I like,
yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the lady who owns the hotel there is a dear friend of ours and a wonderful artist, Heather Miles. And
Oh
I'm
well.
sure you're familiar with Heather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's really cool.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'll have to keep it in the back of my pocket to come out there. I'm going to be out in New Mexico next weekend, so
that's
if I
perfect.
could if I could swing coming back south, I'll let y'all know.
Man, it'd be great to meet you in person. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. If anybody wants to check out your music, shows,
Yes.
buy the album, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
I'm going to give you three different options.
Okay.
My website is justintrevino.com. My Facebook page is Justin Trevino Official, and the record label website is hillbillyhits.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Justin, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later.
Hey, thank you. It's been my pleasure.